So Anthony, tell us about. So your first game was what?
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect, and you had that here at the show, and you also have it here now.
Yes.
Okay. So, first of all, let's talk about that for a second. How was that? That was your first game?
That was my first game. It was originally inspired by Game of Thrones. So I was going to do a Game of Thrones retheme. So it started with the Game of Thrones layout and the ramps and everything like that. And then I met the guys at Fast Pinball who talked about their kit for building from scratch homebrew machines. And I was like, why destroy a perfectly good Game of Thrones when I can build it from scratch, make some modifications to the layout, get rid of some of the shots I didn't like. And, it was a multi-year project, but that was, got me into pinball, got me into like the craft of designing games, designing rules. One of the nice things about doing a pinball off of a video game, one, you have assets. You've got all of the voice clips, you've got all the music, you've got all the artwork there, so it's very easy to stitch together a game. And also, the game, like video games and pinball games, they both have modes, they both have objectives. And what are you doing in a video game? You're either going to a place, you're shooting a thing, or you're hitting a button. So those game sort of mechanics translate into pinball very well. So I felt like Mass Effect was a great candidate for something where you could feel like you're playing the game in the pinball form.
So you cut your teeth on Mass Effect a little bit. You said it was a couple of years to do that?
Yeah, I started that in about 2017, and I finished it in 2020.
Okay, it was a classic layout. It was a classic pin. Looked like a pinball machine. What is going on here now?
So this was inspired by Tanner's House of Flesh and Blood.
We saw that yesterday, you guys.
Yeah, and so we saw that at the show in Seattle last year. And Mass Effect, I love Mass Effect. It's a great machine, but it's very big, it's very heavy. It takes two people to move it, it takes a car to move it. And we saw Flesh and Blood, and like that's small, it's portable. Like you can put the legs on yourself, it can fit in the back of my car. And my girlfriend really wanted a BMO game. And
what is BMO? I'm sorry, chat. I'm sorry, Isaiah.
So BMO is a character in the Adventure Time cartoon, not the main character, sort of a side character who has quirky personality, very cute, very funny, and so rather than doing like a full Adventure Time game, which would have all of the lore and all these characters and all this stuff, BMO making a game dedicated just to this side character who has quirky little personality. The game is just fun. It's just comedy, it's silly, it's goofy, and that plays in with the small layout where it's not a traditional game. It's not, 3 balls, going for a high score, getting the wizard mode and the multi-ball. This is a timed game rather than a 3-ball game. The rules are very much like Crazy Taxi, where you have a timer counting down, and if you complete modes fast enough, you get bonus time, and then you can just keep playing as long as the timer is up. And when the time runs out, it's over.
Little safecracker-ish, huh?
Yeah. And one of the inspirations there is, when you're playing with people of different skill levels, like pinball scoring is exponential. As you get farther in the game, you get bigger and bigger scores. So if somebody's like a little bit better, they're going to end up with a score that's literally 100 times higher than everybody else's score. And that's just really discouraging. So the scoring in this game is the opposite. The farther you get in the game, the harder it is to earn points and the less time you get to earn them. So even if you have a player who's better, their score is not going to be that much bigger. They'll still win, but it's not going to be so defeating for everybody else. So changing the paradigm of like, what is the rule set of a flipping machine? You can, or here, this is another lesson I learned is that when you're at a show and you have to mess with your game a lot, sliding the glass out is really a pain. So just make a lid.
Look at this guy.
It's so easy to fix things, because at a show like this with
Look at this
game, you're always having to work on stuff. You're always having to fix stuff.
So you said you kind of did this because it's smaller and like you can make a full-size game.
Yeah, and that's sort of the idea of demonstration before deformation. Like demonstrate you can build a proper machine with all the normal rules and all the normal stuff, and then say, okay, now that I've done that, what's different? What's more fun? And yeah, the goal of this one was something that I could assemble myself, transport myself in a hatchback, and that would be fun for people even if they're not good at pinball, because they don't have to worry about like draining the ball or lighting that next mode or something. This game basically almost any shot will advance somehow, and you have unlimited balls. Like when the ball drains, you get a new one before you even realize that it's drained. So it's all about just having fun. The TV's there to show the clips for people who like the show, and it's just a cute little game.
What's interesting is that it's not as if it's this all the stuff is the same. All the mechs are the same. The programming is the same. All that stuff is the same. It's just a smaller form factor. Why does it feel to me like I could start with something like this, and even though it's like the flippers are the same, I got to make a rule set, whatever. Why does this feel to me more comfortable to start with as a homebrewer?
Well, that is a trap. That is a trap. Because one of the things I learned with this is that the advantage of doing a traditional machine is that problems are solved. Like the dimensions and spacing of the flippers, how the trough goes in, like where the bumpers go and where the flippers go. Like this one, the trough is along the side and shooting up because you need that space. And I was like, okay, that's great. It was only after I had built all that I realized that the cabinet rails that support the playfield go along the edges, and that's exactly where the trough is. So I had to resolve how to mount the playfield in the cabinet because the trough is there and getting the ball down. So there's a lot of
once you said that, I realized, yeah.
There's a lot of geometry. There's a lot of other challenges to solve. But one of the things that makes this different, like Mass Effect was all by hand. I didn't have a 3D printer. I didn't have a CNC machine. It was just, hand tools in my apartment. But now I have all those things. So this is very approachable because you can see all of the ramps, all of the ball guides, everything is 3D printed. So I can put together a layout and sort of say, oh, this shot's a little tight, or this ramp needs to curve a little bit more. Pop up a 3D printer, and in 2 hours I've got a new ramp. With Mass Effect, I didn't have to solve any geometry because I was using Game of Thrones geometry. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges for people who are building games from scratch and building their own playfield is it's so much work to get the playfield populated. And if you do that and then realize that this shot doesn't work, it's so much more work to take it all down and redo it. So something that's small like this, it's a lot easier to iterate on, and you have some ideas. Also, you can only have so many shots. So it is a lot more approachable as far as designing the game. Just the technical challenge of getting it all hooked up is a little tougher.
So this is fast and NPM.
Yes.
With parts from Marco.
Yes. Always.
So let's talk Isaiah a little bit through the game. We're going to start doing a little bit more. We talked a lot about how to build and all that stuff, but let's have some of the designers talk Isaiah through the game. So here.
All right. So fortunately, the rules are very simple. There are 10 adventures total, and when you start the game, it picks 5 at random. And when you're not in a mode, 5 shots will be lit, and you hit any of them to start the next mode of that adventure. And the mode can be a single shot, it can be a group of shots, or it can be a sequence of shots. And you complete those to earn points. Well, I guess the scoring is automatic. Whenever you're in a mode, the score counts per second, so you're always going to get points for that. If you complete all the shots ahead of time, you get a little bit of a bonus score. And when you start a mode, it gives you a little bit of a time boost based on how many shots are in the mode and how difficult those shots are. So it's fair. It's not like, I was worried that I was going to accidentally make a mode that had too much time or not enough time. So I decided to make it programmatic, where it looks at the shots, it looks at the difficulty of those shots, and then calculates how much time you should get. And as you get farther in the game, that amount of time will get less and less. So you'll be really working on a hair's width of time to get those shots done. And that's really it. There's no additional scoring. The only way to get points is to be in a mode, and it's the same amount of points for everybody. There's no multipliers. There's no bonus. So it's trying to sort of keep the rubber band on the scores close together, so it is more competitive, even if you're not that good at the game.
This feels like the Mario Party of pinball.
Yeah, that's the idea. Is that it should be a fun party game. Anybody can pick up. It's not a huge commitment. You're not going to have somebody rolling for 10 minutes or 20 minutes because they're really good. Because like I said, the farther you get in the game, the less time you get for each mode that starts. So you will eventually become impossible to finish.
You know what I'm loving right now? I can see the leaf switches. I love that I can see the leaf switches. I love that I can see. Are you going to keep it bare wood or are you going to go into artwork?
There is going to be artwork, but one of the ideas with this is the clean aesthetic. So with all the 3D printed parts, like you don't have metal, you don't have all that stuff, and then all of the switches are proximity switches, so there's no rollovers. There's some optos as well. So trying to keep it nice and clean, and then putting art on there. The next version will also have an underplay field, so that.
Wait, under what? You have a screen there.
Yeah, so the screen is going to turn transparent to reveal an underplay field, which will be the hall of egress, sort of a maze that you try to navigate through.
Okay. This comes up a little bit. How are you doing the transparency?
I haven't tried it in a cabinet yet, so it's still proof of concept at this point. But with you can get backless LCD screens that you have to backlight yourself, and then the privacy glass where you run electricity through it and it's opaque, clear it out, and it becomes transparent. So it's not 100% transparent between the two of those, but my hope is that by making the cabinet light tight and then just illuminating it from below, enough will come through. But also the hall of egress is supposed to be very dark. It's supposed to be sort of a, Finn actually goes through it blind. So I think that'll be an appropriate way to sort of have that type of adventure and also, double the available playfield space.
Yeah, the reason I asked is because I've heard a few homebrewers, including a project that I'm working on, talk about the usage of that screen. I don't think I've seen it in a commercial pinball machine, but so you're pioneers right now.
I hope it works. I've proofed it out, but I haven't tried it in a machine yet, so that'll be next. But one of the other games, Akira, they're using a two-way mirror. So there's a mirror in the playfield that's just reflecting, and then it drops down. And like the transition, the effect is so beautiful. Like you think you know what the game is, and then all of a sudden there's this other aspect. So that's why I don't want it to just be a regular underplay field. I want it to be a surprise that you get to.
We got a couple more minutes. Can you just talk a little bit about your creation of the Mission Pinball framework and your involvement in that?
Yeah, so I have a little bit of Python experience, and Mission Pinball is an open source project. So when I started working on Mass Effect, I was doing it the classic style because you do it in Python, it's written in Python, but it's designed to use nice, easy text files. Say like, this is a shot, this is, score points when this happens, start this mode when that happens. But you can use the Python to do a little bit more complex stuff. So as Mass Effect was getting closer to the end game, I was getting much more sophisticated modes. I was programming this massive, it's called the Suicide Mission at the end of Mass Effect, and it has like so much complexity that I started, writing some custom Python code there, and then also seeing things that MPF wasn't really set up to do. So I was like, well, it's an open source project. I know Python. I can make some improvements to MPF. I can sort of, take that on. And as time went on, I got more involved with Jan, who was the maintainer at the time, and helping him out. And he had a kid. He'd been working on it for a long time. So eventually, he just sort of transitioned out of pinball, and I took up the reins. So I've been maintaining it for the last couple of years. And I also started the new Godot media controller for it.
Which is huge.
It is huge. I mean, it's still in the early stages. So, I made some YouTube videos trying to walk people through the process to make it a little more accessible. But it is a game changer as far as what you can do with the graphics and the displays, getting video, getting integrations. And I mean, the old media controller for MPF was basically, PowerPoint. It's very rudimentary, like having slides and putting things on them. So with Godot, you can see the screen, you can drag and drop, you can preview it and run it all. And also it's just a lot faster. It's a lot more optimized because it's a game engine. So that's been my big project for the last year or two. And, BMO is an example of that, like using Godot as the game engine for pinball. And I believe some of the other commercial manufacturers use Godot as well. I don't know for sure.
I was gonna ask Alex, how does it feel to have your game have your code in other games? Like I know that Winchester uses it and June uses it.
Yeah, I was keeping track of the project before Dune when they were doing Labyrinth. There was some discussion about using Godot, possibly using MPF. But MPF, for a commercial project, sometimes you want to have that more efficiency of like a tight programmed language. Yeah, I was really excited to see that, and to me that proves out that Godot was a good choice, because I did a lot of research. I looked at Game Maker's Studio and Unity and all those types of things, and other people have done that. Like there are pinball machines that are using Unity or Unreal or things like that, but I felt like the learning curve of those is so steep. I didn't want to make that sort of an official undertaking. Like, if you know how to do Unity, you don't need a media controller. Like, you can take care of it yourself. So, trying to make it more accessible. But the biggest thing with Godot is just being able to see your screen, put the things on it where you want them, and know that's what it's going to look like.
So cool. So Anthony works with Fast Pinball, right? Or you help with?
I help with them. I mean, Aaron lives close to me, so I go down to him when I need parts. And he sort of walks me through, like, this is what this board does. Dave and Eli help me wire it up. And on the flip side, if they're coming up with something new, like, we just got this new shaker motor board, we're going to send you a couple so you can, get them integrated into MPF. Because they're very supportive of MPF. Like, they make sure that all of their stuff works with it. And in fact, last year when they had or maybe 2 years ago, they completely rebuilt their platform. They hired the original creator of MPF to come in and rewrite all of the Fast platform code to make it work. So they're highly invested in making sure that MPF works, that all of their stuff works with MPF. And if I have any problems with the board or something, they're just a phone call away. Be like, hey, I'm trying to get this to work, and they're super supportive. And when other people are looking for features or something, Fast will implement a new firmware update to give them this new feature, and then I can put it up into MPF. So it's a symbiotic partnership.
So Anthony's a very smart guy, you guys. Thank you so much for bringing BMO over and letting us check that out. And they can watch your YouTube videos on all your projects that help Fast Pinball.
And so I have a couple of videos about my projects, mostly Mass Effect, and then a new video series that's just literally from scratch setting up MPF and Godot to make a game and get it flipping and get your screen showing up and all that stuff. So, hopefully trying to make it a little bit easier for folks.
You're doing God's work. Thank you so much, man, once again.